This is a foundational tutorial to give you the very basics of Houdini. First, we need to talk about the user interface. So you have the menu bar where you save and load, and this is basically in every software. And this is here for the preset of you could say workspaces or desktops, and this is the shelf. I don't use the shelf, but you can use the shelf to create a primitive from here, or you can create preset or lights that has, like, for example, you can create a smoke preset that has specific preset. We're going to click on the small arrow to close them. So we have the toolbox here where you have the basic move and rotate and scale, and you have the view that allows you to rotate the view. Let's talk about the navigation. How do you navigate the scene? So you have to make sure that this tool is selected. You can click on it, and by clicking left mouse you can rotate, and right mouse you can zoom in and out, and middle mouse you can pan the view. Down here we have a timeline for particles and animation. Currently we're not going to use it, so we're going to minimize it, and I like to minimize this too. So just like to focus our attention here. Here we have the display option. We're going to go over them, but for now we need to talk about the basic 3D viewboard and the node view and the node property. So by default you have them this way. We're going to actually, this node property is useless for me here, it's taking so much space. We're going to click this arrow and press P. Now we have it in the corner. So the very basic of node creation, you hit tab and you search for a node. For example, we can create a light like this, and let's delete it by hitting delete. And basically a node has two places where you can connect them, but we are on the object level. I can show you in the, so by just typing geo I created this, and inside of it we are now in the geometry level. There's actually multiple levels in Houdini. So there is multiple types of node in Houdini. There is the SOAP surface operator or geometry nodes, which we have here. We have a SOAP. There are different types of node in Houdini, also like DOPs, dynamic operator, which are responsible for simulations. I don't want to overwhelm you with information here. We just need to focus on this geometry nodes, which are surface operators, SOAPs, and we're going to focus on VEX, which is basically the programming language for Houdini, but also it comes in a visual format as VOP. Let me show you. So this right here is an attribute VOP. This is basically defining, so you can either define a noise for the model, for modeling, or color, and you can also define different things like velocity for particles, etc. So for more interface customization, we are going to change the background color by hitting D and clicking on background and clicking dark. Now for the display tool. What are the tools that are most important for this endeavor? So we have the grid, we have a smaller grid that is useful for curve drawing. We have a lighting option which is only displays the color. We have different option for the light. For example, we can disable diffuse, which is a bad idea. We can enable specular, as you can see. Now let's take a look on a few of these, what they are used for. So let's say I created a geometry, and let's say I created a grid. I'm pressing F to frame it. In this grid is 10 by 10, but we can't see in this display mode. We can't change the display mode to wireframe, or we can change it to flat wire shaded. Wireframe is actually this option. So let's go back, flat wire shaded, and now we can see that there is actually a more polygonal information here. Now let's start with display points. Display point allow us to display the points. In Houdini, unlike other 3D software, a point is not a vertex. A point has multiple vertices. For example, this specific point gonna have 4 vertices. So we can know the information of number of vertices. So as you can see, in Houdini, a point is a point like this, and a vertex is almost like attaching this to the point, and a primitive is what we call in other 3D software a polygon, which is this is considered primitive. So now to continue on, so basically if you want to know the information of how many points is in a specific node, because Houdini doesn't really work in a way like other software when you have objects. We do have objects, but we also have nodes. We are not in the object level. We can go back to the object level and see we have 2 objects here. We have a node, and this node have a certain information. Now first let's establish that it has points, it has primitives, and it has vertices. Don't worry about the polygons for now. We have established that primitives are basically polygons in other software. Now, one of the most fundamental things in Houdini, that every single node has attributes. What are attributes? Well, basically you have something called a variable. You can have something like x equals 4. Now x is a variable equals 4. X is a variable because its value can change over time. A variable can have a value of integer, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, float, which is 1.2, boolean, which is true or false, string, which is a text, like a value can have a text of material dot 0. So continuing on, so we have points. We have the second one is practically displaying the vertices. The fourth one is displaying the point number. Every single point has a specific number in Houdini, because that's extremely important for procedural modeling and different aspects of Houdini. and we have the normal is pointing in a specific direction. We have primitive number, the number of primitives. Also primitive, every single primitive has numbers in Houdini. So a very important concept in Houdini is the geometry spreadsheet. We know that this is a node and this is displaying this grid and this containing point information, and it has a point attribute. What is the geometry spreadsheet is doing? The geometry spreadsheet is telling us information, more exact information on the attribute. Now, what is this attribute? This attribute, basically, as you can see, basically an attribute is consisting of different variables. Every single row of these is a variable, but only these three. So 0.0 has the information of x, y, and z. Like here, we can enable the point count. 0.0, it has the information, it has certain x and y and z coordinates. Now, we can actually decrease the number of rows and columns on the grid, so I can actually demonstrate this better. Now we only have one 3x3. Now we only have 12 points. Isn't it 12? No. Now we only have 9 points. Only have 9 points. So as you can see, we have 0.0, 0.1, 0.2. And in the geometry spreadsheet, we have 0.0, 0.1, 0.2. Every single one of them contains information. So the geometry spreadsheet is very important to see what kind of information we have on our attributes. But to demonstrate this further, we're going to add a color attribute. So by dragging and pressing tab, we can type in lab, which you have to actually add the lab tool to access these nodes. Lab color, and we're going to select lab color gradient. What this is going to do, this is going to give us color information on our grid. So now, if we go to the geometry spreadsheet, we not only have a point attribute, we have also a CD attribute, which is a color attribute. It has an RGB, which is red, green, blue, and the point has X, Y, and Z, which is the X, Y, and Z coordinate. Now let's say we need 0.0 to be like 100% black and 0.6 to be 100% white. So by changing the bounding box to Z, now I think just so I can be sure, yeah, so practically 0 here is actually, yes, it's actually 100% black, and 8 it's 100% white. 6 has 100% white. Yes. So basically, as you can see, we have established that attributes are a collection of variables, and we have an attribute for points, which is giving us where are the points located. An attribute of color, which is giving us where are the color located. And basically what Houdini fundamentally we're doing, we are manipulating the attribute using node. These attributes might contain points, primitive, and vertices. So I hope it's clear for you. You can tell me down the comment if this is clear. And yeah, this is the very basics of Houdini. But we are going to do one more thing before we call in the day. So before we end this video, we're going to create one last thing to let you understand Houdini more. So here you can delete all of this. You can first disable the view display option. You can delete it by hitting delete after selecting them. Can hitting tab, box, typing in box, and we have a box. But we just need to fix a tiny problem here. The box is in the exact middle, and we need this box to be actually on the floor. So in order for us to do that, so you can of course do this, which is not recommended, because we are going to do this the Houdini way. We're going to take the Y size and we're going to copy parameter, and here we are going to paste relative reference. Again, first delete the value, and now we have the now it's moving up, sending it up like 1 meter. We can divide this by 2, and now we have the model exactly on the floor. The second thing we want to do here is adding a twist modifier, twist modifier, and actually we need to increase the division so we have some information on the model. So we're going to twist this model, but we're going to set the direction to up. So the very reason why we did this is for the modifier to work perfectly by default. And actually this is a very common practice in Houdini. Sometimes you need to have a model perfectly placed in a specific coordinate for a specific node to work consistently in a specific system. Anyway, so as you can see, we learned how we can navigate. We learned a little bit about the interface. You don't really need to learn a lot. Like, you don't need to learn every single thing here in Houdini, but you need to learn enough to be able to use the software. And this introduction will give you a foundation to build on a later videos of mine on this channel. So consider giving me a sub. So consider giving me a sub. Of course, I'm not done yet with the basics of Houdini. I'm planning about doing a video on talking more about the groups, explaining attributes more, explaining point scatter more, and doing I'm already working on a donut tutorial to be like very basics Houdini stuff. So we can actually talk about the group in a second. One of the way you select thing procedurally is by using a group. And add a group node, and we can use this very cool trick. We can use this, for example, and we can tell it that all the normal that are pointing up, I want to select them, and we select specific types of normal. Later on we can maybe delete them, we can delete them, we can do operation on them, we can poly extrude them, we can like select the group. Let's like give it a more interesting top here, select tops. Now, as you can see, this is how Houdini works fundamentally. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You can give me a subscribe to continue doing these Houdini tutorials, and you can tell me down in the comment if you was able to follow along easily on these tutorials or not. See ya, bye bye.